First to breaking news, and an evacuation order has been issued for the Queensland city of Gympie, with floodwaters continuing to rise. Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk spoke a short time ago. We can bring that to you live now.
And I want to thank the Gympie businesses for doing the right thing, and the Gympie residents. Our concern is for your safety, and this is why this is happening. I know a lot of elderly people also live in Gympie. We've got police that are able to assist, SES crews, and we are looking at any more aerial support as well. Now, in relation to the other areas we're monitoring very closely, on the Sunshine Coast, in some of the low-lying areas, we are monitoring very closely. We are not concerned at the moment, but I want these areas to be listening to alerts during the course of this afternoon and this evening. That is Tewantin, Picnic Point and Dunedin Rock. So we're monitoring those very carefully. Now, in the area of Logan, the Logan River and the Albert River, we're monitoring those systems, and we want the people of Bow Desert to be listening to any issues of concern. But of course, please listen, but I'm just giving advice at the moment that these are the communities at this point in time we need to be listening to these alerts. Now, in Maryborough, it's not expected until later Sunday, but we are expecting higher flood levels than what we experienced in January. The people of Maryborough have been through a lot and they're very resilient, and we're working very closely with their local disaster management groups as well. So that's the major issue at the moment. In terms of the Bremer River, it's well below 2011, so again, but as you can see, there is a lot of rain. There is a lot of rain happening across our southeast. There are 1,000 road closures. You'll be able to hear from the Transport Minister. He'll go through those. And if it's flooded, forget it. We are seeing a lot of our catchment areas, the low-lying river systems causing some issues at the moment. Tonight is probably not the night to take any risks. So if you are any areas surrounding these rivers, please listen to the advice that will be coming. Our emergency services staff, our police, all of our councils have been working very collaboratively together. I thank them for that. The Prime Minister's been in contact with me. I'll be having a conversation with him shortly after this briefing as well, but I know that we'll be able to get any assistance that we need. I also want to alert Cherbourg. We expect that Cherbourg residents may be isolated as well. So we are in the process of putting in some resupplies there for the next 3 days. There have been 22 emergency alerts that have been issued recently. The SES has done some 1,900 call-outs, and there have been some 92 swiftwater rescues as well. So I'll hand over to David from the Bureau. Then you'll hear from the State Disaster Coordinator. We'll give an update on the water volumes, especially in the Wivenhoe area and our southeast dam catchment area. But I'll hand over to David. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier, and good afternoon, everyone. So as mentioned earlier, we are in the middle of what could be and what is a season-defining event for much of southeast Queensland. We're seeing continued areas of heavy rain across the southeast, which are now likely to persist into the course of Sunday. As of this afternoon at 2 p.m, we're starting to see the heaviest rainfall probably now existing across Brisbane, extending into parts of Ipswich and parts of Redland City Council areas. This area is expected to continue during the course of today, and for those areas further north where there is a temporary reprieve, there is a potential, unfortunately, for renewed heavy rain into the course of tonight. Local intense falls are occurring during the course of today, and we've recently seen the most heaviest falls around the Caboolture area, and early this morning we saw it up around the Sunshine Coast and towards Noosa. With many catchments now saturated, there is a potential for dangerous and life-threatening flash flooding. And on top of that, with all these saturated grounds, localised landslides cannot be discounted during the remainder of this event. Numerous major flood warnings are now current for many catchments across southeast Queensland, and the number and the severity of these flood warnings is only going to increase as we continue through this rainfall event. It must be emphasised that it is too early to call flood peaks on some of our rivers, just due to the fact that it is still continuing to rain across much of our catchments around the area. For where we don't have any current flood warnings, a flood watch still does exist for a lot of those catchments. while we still have this rainfall event, there is the potential for further rises on those catchments that aren't seeing any at the moment. And finally, damaging wind gusts. This low pressure system that is lingering around the southeast is going to intensify into tonight, hence bringing this potential renewed burst of rainfall, but also with that, localised damaging wind gusts that could occur about the coastline and also about our hinterland areas. And again, where we've got saturated grounds, any shallow rooted trees, they could fall in these events if they were to combine. Digging into the details of some of our flood warnings. So we still do have a major flood warning that's going for the parts of the Brisbane River. We've seen significant flooding in the Lockyer Valley yesterday, and again, we're seeing some renewed rises, very rapid rises around the Lockyer Valley during the course of today. Major flooding is now being recorded on the Bremer River at Ipswich, and minor flood peaks are also starting to occur at the Brisbane City, which did occur on the high tide today and will once again occur during the course of tomorrow. Again, with further rain and tides being elevated, and further waters coming in from our local creeks, we will see further rises on that Brisbane River. 2011 levels for both these catchments are still much higher, but again, rain is still falling across these catchments. Widespread moderate to major flooding is otherwise occurring across much of the remainder of the Brisbane River catchment. Moving on to the Mary River, we do have a major flood warning, so major flood levels are now occurring at Gympie, and they've already exceeded the 2011 and 2013 peaks. With forecast rainfall, the river may exceed levels that have not been seen since at least February of 1999. And again, further rainfall could occur around the Mary River catchment over the next 24 hours. Next, moving on to Maryborough, it's likely to exceed the major flood level during the course of Sunday. And again, it may exceed a peak that was experienced during the course of January of this year, during Cyclone Seth. The major flood warnings that are going for the Mooloolah, Noosa and Maroochy rivers are said to be a very significant flood peak. These flood peaks may exceed what was last experienced during the course of 1992. So over 30 years since these areas have experienced such a flood. These flood peaks are going to start during the course of today and of course continue during the course of Sunday. And lastly, our last major flood warning as it stands around southeast Queensland is the one that we've got going for the Logan River, with the potential for major flooding at Beaudesert during the course of this weekend. Of course, we've got many other flood warnings that are current across southeast Queensland, and with rain continuing occurring, you can't discount that we could see an increase in the number and the severity of these warnings. And again, got to emphasise that we could see the potential for significant and dangerous flash flooding over the course of the next 24 hours with all these very wet catchments. Thank you, and I'll now pass over to the State Disaster Coordinator.
Thanks, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As you've heard, this event still continues to unfold quite rapidly. We are seeing increased operational activities and responses right across the southeast. We are still have lost 4 persons unfortunately in this event, and we still have 1 person missing in the Goomboorian area that we are still searching for. Happily, we had 3 persons missing in the Marburg area, but they are currently being rescued as we went into our briefing, and I'm sure that Commissioner Leach will update us on all of the rescues that are happening right across the southeast corner. Can I please add to what the Premier has said? Stay connected. There are multiple warnings going out around severe weather events. We've just had one come through the Caboolture area that has impacted significantly, and we're seeing calls for service in that area. When it comes to calls for service, of course, if people need just assistance because there's problems with their house and they have leaking roofs and the like, SES, please contact the SES. But if you are experiencing a life-threatening situation or you are at risk, please ring 000. That is the appropriate place to get support. There are multiple road closures right across the southeast corner. I'm not going to go into all those details other than to say that that rapidly changes. Now is not the time to be out and about on our roads unless you absolutely have to. If it's flooded, forget it. We really need people to stay in place where they can and remain safe. This event is not going to finish soon, and we do not want to lose any more people. So please, if it's flooded, forget it. We are, as you've heard, planning for evacuations in Gimpy. That is unfolding as we speak, and an emergency alert is going out this afternoon. For those persons in the Gympie area that applies to, please take heed of that evacuation advice. We need to get you safe while it's daylight and whilst we've got access into different areas. We have got contingency planning in place on the ground up there so that we have pre-deployed swiftwater rescue, we have pre-deployed water police. We are able to operate in that area once the flooding comes through, but it is much safer for everybody if we move sooner and in particular those 700 impacted residents and the 100 or so businesses. They should be doing that action as we speak and concluding it very shortly. There is sufficient evacuation centre capacity in Gympie to be able to accommodate all of those people and to be looked after, so please do that. We have 20 evacuation centres operating right across the southeast corner, and at the moment we have 500 people in those centres. They have plenty of capacity, so again, if you need to go to an evacuation centre, the best thing to do is get online and see where the closest one is to you and go to there where you can get support. There are power outages again, so people need to be patient. We've got this morning we had around 7,700 customers out right across the southeast corner. That's likely to keep happening. People in areas that have been impacted can expect there to be power outages. And certainly as we see some of these peaks start to happen in various areas, that there may well be impact on access and to power in those areas. But please be aware that we are working very hard to make sure that all gets put back in very quickly.